Hello and welcome to For Future Generations for the 24th of January. A very, very cold 24th of January. We hope that you are doing well. We hope that you are still alive. We hope that your internet still works, that your power is still on, and that you have not frozen to death on the planet Hoth. But if you have, my sincere condolences. I am Geoffrey, and I am joined, as always, by my wonderful friend Sean. Sean, you're looking a little cold there, man.
Yeah, it is. It is officially below freezing in my studio, so that's why I'm wearing all this.
Yeah, so folks, Sean's studio, for those of you who are not aware, is kind of on the back porch of his house.
Yeah,
and no central heat and air. As a matter of fact, no heat and air other than the windows, really. Well, in a window unit, I guess, during the summertime.
I've got it. Yeah, I got a space heater, but that's like for my feet. The rest of me is going full Eskimo,
doing scant to keep him warm. But so if he starts turning blue, we might have to bring the show to an abrupt ending. But we are very glad to have you with us. The topic for today is Christian environmentalism and the Patagonia fires. But we're going to start off with Christian environmentalism. So when you hear the word environmentalism or environmentalist, a lot of people will identify themselves. I'm an environmentalist. I care about the earth. I'm very green. I'm a good person, right? That's what you hear when they say that, right? Well, I would identify myself as an environmentalist with a lot of caveats, though. But Sean, if somebody said to you, I'm an environmentalist, how would you understand that?
I'd probably think that if it's a woman, that she doesn't wear deodorant and she doesn't shave her armpits or other places. And that's, no, I don't know. If someone, generally when people say they're an environmentalist, it depends. Like if they come at me looking like Teddy Roosevelt or John,
big strong dude,
right? Like they look like a man's man who could actually last through a hike. Then I might think like, oh, this guy just likes trees and he's like me. He knows the different types of trees and he wants to see them alive. If it's like a wimpy person, I'm probably thinking that they want higher taxes and that's gonna somehow
probably smoke weed.
Yeah.
It's it is interesting because when people say they're an environmentalist or they're environmentally conscious or green, whatever words they use, if somebody says they're green, it could mean a couple different things, right? It could mean that they are new at something, could mean that they are good at gardening, a green thumb, or it could just mean that they are weird, crazy Greenpeace nonsense type stuff. Could be all kinds of different things, right? So, what do we mean when we talk about environmentalism? And I think a very good explanation is found in in Psalms, the 24th book of Psalms, starting in verse 1. It says, "The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein." So everything you see, all that the light touches, right? All that the light touches is God's. And all that the light does not touch as well. All of it. All of Christ for all of life. The whole world is his domain, right? He made it. It's his. He made it for himself, for his own glory. And we are part of that creation that is supposed to be bringing glory to God. So, a couple more Bible verses for you. When we talk about Christian environmentalism, we are going to be in the Bible because this is a Christian thing and the foundation for all. This is going to rub some of y'all the wrong way, but it's the fact, okay? The only infallible rule of faith and life is the scriptures. So, ad fontes, to the source. Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. Then God said, let us make man in our image according to our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female he created them. Then God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves on the earth. And God said, see, I have given you every herb that yields seed, which is on the face of the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed. To you it shall be for food. So, dominion mandate, right there. Right there. You are God's servant to subdue the earth, to dominate the earth. You know, we hear domination. You know, we get a lot of negative ideas like domination. Oh, you want to subdue me? You want to harm me, right? But domination and subduing of creation is actually turning it into a garden, turning it into a habitable place, making parks and recreation areas for people, because nature does not do that on her own, right? The law of entropy is still fully active. And if you just let nature do its thing, nature, you know, it's life in nature is short, brutal, right? It's very bad, because even before it was tainted by sin, it was without order. And God instituted man to bring order to the chaos. So then you've got, you know, Genesis 2:15, God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to tend and keep it. So there's your job right there. You're a gardener, right? You are subduing the earth. Why? Not to make it into some weird structures, but to make it into a garden. Not to, create ugliness, but to create beauty. And the Lord God commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden you may freely eat, but of the tree of knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat, for in the day you eat of it you shall surely die. And that is what has brought us to where we are today. But the dominion mandate, notice, it predates sin. Your purpose predates your fallen nature. And your purpose, to some extent, is environmentalism. To care for the environment that God has made. Sean, you got some thoughts?
Yeah, I just want to point out the language in that passage. Subdue, dominion, like these are, and also the fact that it is in the form of a command. Like, this isn't a request from God. This isn't like pretty please with sugar on top, go and subdue the earth. Like, this is the first command that God ever gives to mankind, any man at all. So we do harm to the text when we undermine that, because you need to look at the fact that Adam is given a job. I remember Vody Bauckham. I had talked about this before. Vody had come to California Baptist, and long time ago, like 15 years ago, whatever. And he was talking about, because the whole week was about finding a mate, right? Getting married, having a family. And he had talked about where a man needs to be before he gets married. And one of the things he said, even before Adam was married, he had a job. Like, God gave him a job. Here you go. You're a gardener. This is how you're going to make your living. Now you can have a wife and kids and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just, have kids and kick them out the nest. There's a lot going on in that passage as far as who we are to be. I don't know how much more you're going to get into stewardship, unless you have other
Go
passages.
for it. Go for it, man.
Yeah, so with stewardship, like I know you're going to read this, but the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, right? Like, so everything. That's very, very pretty language for saying everything, right? Everything belongs to God because God created it. God sustains it, right? Don't forget that. God didn't create it and then it sustains on its own.
Right.
God has to actively keep things going for them to continue to exist. You have no life of yourself. Like that's one of the
every breath you take, right?
Yeah, that gets into Christology. There's some statements made about how Christ had life of himself. Because you are not God, you're a created being. You are continuously sustained in order to continue to have your being. And the same is true of the grass of the field. I mean, if you've ever seen, there's cool time-lapse videos. I don't know how these videos were taken because it's a fire, but there's like a camera inside the fire. I don't know how they did that, but it's like it's a forest fire, and it's, there's a lot of like dead things and it's not really looking great. And a fire just comes through and just destroys it. And then it all comes back better, greener. Like it. So there's that, like things will start to fall away. Trump got our president. I should put some respect on his name. President of the United States,
Trump.
Donald John Trump. Isn't his middle name like John?
Yeah. I don't know why, but for some reason, to an Englishman, the middle name being John is weird.
Yeah,
it's kind of like if his middle name was Steve, not Stephen, but Steve. Like, hi, my name is Bill Steve Williams. You're like,
yeah. Well, but like,
okay,
because Donald is such a magnanimous name, right? Trump is a name. Trump is an English word that means something big.
It means top,
right?
Right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like your name's Donald Trump, right? Like that's like this thing. But then your middle name's just John, which is a fine name, right? It's what my name
but
means.
It's not very epic, right?
But yeah, it's like that's the middle name. Anyways, our commander
what he did,
had made a comment that forests need to be swept, and I believe in reference to Sweden. I want to say it was a Scandinavian country, but I could be wrong. But he was saying that there's fires in California because they don't sweep the forests, right? You need to do like what the Scandinavian country does and sweep the forest. That's why you have forest fires in California every year.
Yeah,
which is true. But he got a lot of flack for that from the left because they like to just pretend everything he says is stupid. But there's truth to that. If you don't clean that out, then there's roughage at the bottom. There's dead things, especially things like pine needles. Pine needles are incredibly flammable. For those that don't know, if you ever have trouble starting a fire, find a pine cone and just take a lighter to it, and it'll catch on fire. Like pine tar is incredibly flammable. If you
take a pine cone and you actually stuff needles into it, you have a fire starter right there. It's there. So, but there's also I don't remember what this I don't remember what the name of the plant is, but there was a tree that was imported from Australia to California.
Oh, eucalyptus. Yeah, eucalyptus trees.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yep. And you know about the life cycle of eucalyptus trees, right?
Yeah, it take like 100 years to get going, and then they're highly flammable after that.
Yeah. First off, the only way they reproduce is by literally starting a forest fire, right? Yeah. So they have this, like you said, 100-year or so life cycle, super long life cycle. Then they literally become combustible, and then start fires.
Yeah.
And then when they burn down, it causes their seeds to sprout out of the. So a very, very bizarre very interesting kind of a life cycle, but it literally, the only reason it exists is to start fires in California.
I know San Diego has quite a few of them. I remember seeing them when I was driving to San Diego. I know that the 99, which is the way that you say it out there, not Highway 99, but the 99.
The 99
has a bunch of eucalyptus when you get further south, closer to the Grapevine. So they're throughout California. I remember reading an article about it. Like, people were wondering if Australia was like just screwing with California. Like, I got something for you. Here you go.
Oh, hey, you want some trees, eh? Oh, I've got a tree for you. All right.
I got a tree, yeah.
I got a tree. You're gonna love this.
So, I mean, there's you have to take care of these things. Like, food doesn't just happen to grow out of the ground. Like, there's a wild version of it, but even like modern corn, like, that's a cultivated grass, essentially.
Right.
It's like a prairie grass that we took the best parts of it, and or like oh dude, what is the original plant that created like every vegetable? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Wild mustard. Yeah.
Is that what
like
it is?
Cauliflower, Brussels sprouts,
broccoli,
turnips, broccoli. Yeah. It's like maybe
cabbage.
Not turnips, but yeah, cabbage. All of the leafy greens, as well as a couple of tubers, but not turnips. It's a different one.
No. Yeah.
All came, as well as several, as well as several herbs that you wouldn't think would be related. It turns out, distantly related. Mm-hmm.
So basically, like, people cultivated that. Like, people took that. If you could find a picture, if you could find the, do you know what I'm talking about? Like, I've seen a cool graph where it shows like each part of that. But essentially, what they did was they selected for like the ones that had big like roots, or like really, so like then you would keep growing those ones and it would select for just that. Like certain, oh, you got it. Pull it up, because this tripped me out when I first saw this.
So
it's just
Brassica
different.
oleracea, Brussels sprouts selected for Boas. I'm not sure what that's saying. Broccoli selected for stem and flower. Cauliflower selected for flower clusters. Cabbage selected for terminal buds. Kale selected for leaves. Collard greens, that's the one I was thinking of, selected for leaves. Kohlrabi, that's the root, selected for stems. And then Gaia lan, selected for stems, leaves, and flowers. They all came from wild mustard.
Yeah. By the way, this
pretty wild.
I use this when people talk about like race doesn't exist. Like, I was like, does cauliflower exist? Well, yeah, of course it does. Is cauliflower the same thing as broccoli? Well, no. I mean,
one race, the mustard race.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Like, it's a great analogy for that. But
yeah, and this graphic actually leaves out mustard.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
The obvious one.
There's a couple.
Mustard.
Yeah, there's a couple. I mean, there's probably infinite things that you could turn this into, but essentially people just selected for different parts of it, and you end up having what we have today. But it's all the same plant originally.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like you said, one race, the mustard race.
Which sounds like a 5K. Yeah. It sounds like an October themed 5K.
I tried to do the Native American thing that they call the Three Sisters, which I'm sure other people have done it, but have you ever heard of this? Where you grow squash, green beans, and corn all together. So the theory is that corn is going to grow up as a stalk, and then the beans are going to wrap around like a natural trellis. and then the squash.
The squash is going to keep the bed
a natural
nice and moist.
mulch. Yeah, and
Yeah.
so together.
Okay.
And then what's crazy is as we got, scientifically literate about these things, we realized, you don't have to rotate the crop because each of them replaces the thing the other thing takes, and it's a whole thing you can cultivate together.
It's a
whole
ecosystem.
Yeah, all that to say, I did that one year. The corn got decimated, like pretty much right away. But the green beans did fairly well that year, and so I was eating green beans that were grown out of my backyard, which is really cool. That's a great experience if you've never done that.
We had a 1 acre property the whole time I was a teenager, and half of it, literally a half acre of garden, was boxes and boxes of garden. And we did the square foot gardening method, but we weren't religious about it. We just kind of, took that theory. And I was very good at potatoes. I was the potato king.
So,
and peppers. I like growing peppers.
Where was I going with this? The squash did not do well. Right. So what we did was I took the packets, right? You open up the 3 packets and then mix them together and just threw them all like in a row, but like indiscriminately. Right. Which was fun. I remember opening, this is so stupid. I opened up the corn seeds and I poured them out, and I was like, I don't know what I expected, but I don't know why I expected more than this, because that's corn. That's what corn
I know what corn looks like.
Yeah. Why did I think it'd be something other than this in my hand? Same thing with the squash, right? Squash seed comes out. Oh, yeah, I know what a squash.
I know what a squash seed looks like. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, that was a funny scene for me. Or like the beans, when the beans came out. What? It's a bean. A bean is a bean seed?
So come to think of it, I think I could have gotten all of these at the grocery store for half the price.
Yeah.
And had a meal.
Yeah. So the next year, right? Forgot about it. Just totally, like the green beans did well, and then they died. And then, spring comes around and hope springs eternal. And we're just chilling. We didn't put anything in the ground. And sitting there in the backyard, and I say, that's squash growing in the corner over there. And it just grew. Now, squash didn't just come out of nowhere. I put the seeds there, but boy, did they take over. And that was really cool to see. Like, we've also done that with like pumpkins from Halloween, and you just throw, just smash the pumpkins underneath the trampoline.
Everybody has these smash the pumpkins parties, right? And then the next year they've got a giant corner of their yard that's just a giant green mess. Yeah.
Anyways, you have to cultivate those things to some extent, or else they will, they'll just die off.
They'll volunteer back a few times sometimes, but they will not do so indefinitely, for sure.
My wife just drops off a candle so I can warm myself.
warm your little
fire.
Hands.
So now I've got like this. It looks like my feet are on fire. Like I'm just like.
No, you know what it looks like is it looks like you're about to expound some wisdom. Like, come to and listen.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a taking over of these things. Like we had there was a tree that I didn't like in my backyard, got rid of it, right? Because it was like I think it said it was like a fruitless mulberry, just a garbage tree. And like basically like whole parts of it just die, and then new parts like grow around it, and then you end up with like a tree that's literally half the wood on it is dead, and it's just awful, dude. It's just a problem. So I got rid of that. Planted other trees. Like we got fruit trees in the front because we want fruit trees to be there. Like you can choose what to do to an extent. I mean, sometimes you fail, it happens, but you can choose what goes on in that yard. Like, you have to cultivate those things, and people will judge you.
And
if
ultimately,
you don't do a good job.
it's your responsibility. Yeah. Like you were saying, people will judge you because they know that you're supposed to. It's not just that. Yeah, you have the freedom to do what you want with it within bounds. But with that freedom comes a responsibility to do something with it that you ought to.
Yeah.
Which is, people love the freedom. They don't like the responsibility.
Yeah. Another thing on stewardship, if this is a good time to talk about the developer.
Go ahead.
So I live down by the creek, if you will. And on the other side... Too. Yeah, whoa, the creek. So on the opposite side of that is some land that is, it's just what's the word I'm looking for? I want to say fallow, but it's like, I mean, it's got an ecosystem to it. Yeah, it is a floodplain. But it's just all like
a
wild
dell,
trees,
right?
And and like it's not cultivated in any way. Like, I want to say, like, it's just wild growth, right? So it's all native trees and whatever. A developer purchased it after. By the way, there's so many layers to the story that just bug me. A boomer, wow, crazy. A boomer inherited this land from like his great grandfather on down, because his great grandfather settled the land. It was his homestead, and he inherited it.
By the way, in Texas, that goes all the way back to the Spanish land grants. That is, the way that Texas property rights are organized and granted goes all the way back to the Spanish land grants from the crown.
Wow.
So,
yeah, I mean, it's DFW, so it's fairly early settlement. Parts of it pre-Civil War. Parts of DFW is what I'm saying. I know parts of Texas were around before.
Well, yeah, I mean, Fort Worth was developed before the Civil War and then developed after the Civil War because they lost it to the Indians during the war. So, might be the place where you were too.
Oh, that'd be
depending
cool.
on what part of town it was. Yeah, but it got overrun by Indians and they had to resettle it.
You think I live on a Indian burial ground or something, dude? That'd be cool.
I don't know. Do you hear strange noises in the night?
Yeah. Ooh, yeah.
those candles. This would be the time to tell us.
Yeah. My people are buried here. So the anyways, where
Native Americans.
Oh, the so the Indian burial ground on the other side of the creek. This guy boomer sells it off. I want to go do cruises around the world or whatever. Get a job, hippie. So he wants to sell his inherited land, and this developer is like, I'm gonna put toothpick houses on it, and then essentially to do that he has to get it rezoned. It was a whole fight. He basically a big part of that fight was essentially like the city of Fort Worth knows that if our creek floods, downtown Fort Worth floods. That's what they've said. Like the Tarrant County is the county out here. They've said their water district, Tarrant Water District, has said that they need to build like some kind of dam up the creek. Like, it's just a creek, but it has such a huge flood basin. It just takes in so much water at a time.
I remember when I was in college, I went to college in Fort Worth, actually at the same college, or the college where you went to seminary, but not at the same time.
I didn't go.
And okay. Well, you were in the area. Yeah, but
I know what you're saying.
Anyway, while I was in Fort Worth, the stockyards flooded. like downtown, the stockyards, everything. And it was a pretty severe flood. Like it was on the national news, probably international news. Like people heard about this who have never been to Texas. It was a pretty big, serious thing, which would have meant that your neighborhood was flooded too, because that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
So that water's got to go somewhere, and it got to come from somewhere.
So all this to say, like, a big part of the argument that I came with is that this guy didn't understand that he didn't own the land, or he doesn't own the land. He's a steward of the land.
Right.
You don't just get to buy. First of all, you are not a citizen, or you are not my neighbor. You know, you're not a part of my city just because you bought up a piece of land so that you could flip it and then continue living outside of my city. That doesn't make you part of what we're doing here. That you're not my neighbor because you did that.
I mean, no more than if I bought a beach house in Honolulu and then I went downtown to the natives. I'm like, I'm your new neighbor. It's like, that it doesn't really work that way.
Even
right?
that,
Vacation
even
homes,
that would be
flip
more.
Projects. I mean, if I were living
project,
there, it's one thing, but it's like you have no roots here. You have no intention to stay here. Like if it's your vacation home that you go to once a year, if you miss a year, you know that you're not from there.
Yeah.
Flip projects don't give you nativity, right? I mean, if I buy a house 2 towns over, and I spend a year renovating that house, which is something that my family is doing right now. 2 towns over, we own a house and we're renovating it, flipping it, trying to get it on the market. If we do that, that doesn't make us from there. I'm from here, right here, where I'm sitting. This is where I'm from. This is where I've lived for 10 years. This is where, you know, just up the street from where I grew up, or where I grew up as a teenager anyway. This is where I'm from. I've lived here most of my life. But if I were to pull up stakes and just move somewhere, it takes a while for you to be from there. You don't just suddenly, oh, well, I own land here, therefore now I get to tell you all what I'm going to do to my property, which affects your property.
Yeah. Yeah, and so all that to say, like, you're a steward of these things. You know, if you inherit something, like this boomer that inherited that land, he's a steward of that land. He's just the next man in line to take care of it. That doesn't mean you didn't earn that. There's this weird, like boomers in particular, I'm sure other generations do it, but it's become an epidemic. And the reason that you see all these developments showing up, these housing developments showing up in neighborhoods you never thought you'd see it before, is because boomers in particular are selling acres and acres of land that they inherited, and then they said, it stops here. And then I'm going to go on a bunch of cruises and go to Vegas and burn it and, you know, put it on Red 7. And
what they've done is they've abdicated their stewardship.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They have left it. And in a way, a lot of them have done worse than a mere abdication. You know, if you own land and you're responsible for it and you just let it go to the dogs. Like, for instance, there was a job site that we were working last year for my professional job, the one that makes me money. And the police stopped by and we're all like, shoot, what's going on? A couple Mexicans, you know, pull up their face masks and they're like peeking out like, you're not going to arrest me, right? Deport me back to my country. No, don't send me back to my country. It's the worst place ever. I love my country. Yeah. But he pulls up and we're all like, what's going on? Because he's got his lights on. So we're wondering, like, what is going on? Are they looking for somebody? He pulls up in no hurry, sits in his car for a couple minutes, rolls his window down and drives up to the job boss and he starts chatting with him. And he's there for like 30 minutes while we're doing our work, you know, doing the circles. And he gets done chatting and he leaves the boss. And I'm on my way out of the job site. I swing by and I roll down my window. I was like, hey, what's that all about? He's like, well, have you looked at this job site? And it's like weeds. Okay, so I drive a truck for a living. And by a truck, I don't mean a pickup truck. Okay, I mean a big 18-wheeler. And on this job site, I mean, I don't know driving down the highway if you get an idea for how big these things are. But I've got weeds that are halfway up my windows. And they're dead. All right? And we've had a wet year. Last year we had a wet year. But it was still, I mean, this stuff was ready to go at any moment. And like where we had worked, we had cleared it back because we didn't want it anywhere near us. We wanted to have room to work. We couldn't see anything because it's taller than a man. And so I'm talking to the job boss. He says, yeah, you know, this, what's going on is the cop is he was wondering if we know who the owner of this land is. And he said, look, we don't know. Our contract is with the city. And we're running some pipes through this land. We have permission to be here as, you know, public access, but we don't actually know who the property belongs to. And hang on just a second. Sean, could you go for a bit?
Yeah.
Oh, no, he's dipping out. I have a little guy who just woke up. He shouldn't have.
Oh, no.
But, yeah, he's a cute little fella. He's a little sad because I went on a camping trip this weekend and left him home. But so anyhow, this job, you know, is dangerous. And there's a neighborhood right up against it. And, you know, between the exit of the neighborhood, there's only one way in and out. And the back of this neighborhood is a creek, right? A deep creek. You can't get through it just by walking. Like a full-grown man in good athletic form could get across it. But like women and children, if they get trapped by this burning inferno and their house catches fire, if they're on the wrong side of that, they can't get out of the neighborhood. They're stuck. They will die, right? So this cop is looking for the owner, and we didn't know who it was. You know, like I said, we're public access contractors. We're in there, and we're on the easement, right? Well, that was somebody abdicating his responsibility. His responsibility was to maintain the things that he's been given. And by not maintaining them, by just letting it go, and he's a developer of some sort, right? This is attached to the back end of a neighborhood. He's a developer, and he's not taking care of the thing for which he's responsible. And he is literally putting people's lives in danger by that abdication. And who you sell your property to can also be an abdication of responsibility. If you have beautiful land and you sell it to a guy who's going to build toothpick 5-story HUD housing, you know, to make an ungodly amount of money by providing low-income housing that the government's going to pay ingrates and layabouts to just sit in, that is also an abdication of your responsibility, because you are supposed to be making something good and beautiful with the things God has given you.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people will just see it as, you know, our old friend capitalism. They'll just be like, well, the city needs all of these houses because we need more people to buy the things and make the line go up. And
we need more property taxes so that we can have nicer infrastructure.
Yeah. So that, you know, more people can use the infrastructure and wear it out faster.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly. It's like you didn't realize that this is a self-perpetuating cycle, right? You are here, you're going here, you will arrive here, and then you will go here again, right? We need more people because the infrastructure is crumbling, raise taxes. Now we have more people using the infrastructure. Now we need more people because the infrastructure is being overused. It's like this is not actually a stable system. It's a Ponzi scheme, right?
Yeah. You'll run out of places, and that was a funny thing too. We were like, you know what, dude? Like, we just don't want, like, we're all, you know, do your development, whatever, but like, don't develop in a floodplain, right? Like, we're not against development necessarily, and you know, the argument was basically like, well, all the good land has been developed on, so now we need to take these places out of the floodplain and move the creek around and do all this kind of crap. And I'm like, go do that elsewhere, dude. What's another example of this? There was a back and forth on Twitter probably a couple years back, where this guy showed a map of the density, like population density within America, and he was like, look at all these places where like essentially nobody lives, right? And he's just showing it as a map, like there's nothing else on the map. And he's like, see, we have plenty of space for the third world to come in and fill it up. And somebody was just like, dude, these are like national parks and, like conservation areas and farmland, right? Like we have uses for this land. Like you don't just have to fill every square inch of land with Indians. Like that's such a absurd way of thinking. Like, oh, we can't have natural resources. We need places to fill with Indians. It's just such a absurd way of thinking. Nobody thinks about, well, and that gets into, did you have other Bible verses you wanted to share? Or
yeah, I've got a few more that I wanted to hit real quick, but one of them is in Matthew. Well, actually, before we get to Matthew, let's finish out with the Old Testament. We've got Deuteronomy 20:19, and this kind of goes actually to what we were talking about just now about being responsible for the things that you own. You just because you own the land doesn't mean you can do everything you want to it, right? So in Deuteronomy, God is commanding the children of Israel how they are to take possession of these nations, right? He commands genocide in some cases of these nations. But here he says, when you besiege a city for a long time while making war against it to take it, you shall not destroy its trees by wielding an axe against them. If you can eat of them, do not cut them down to use in the siege, for the tree of the field is man's food. Only the trees which you know are not trees for food you may destroy and cut down, to build siege works against that city that makes war with you until it is subdued. So in the rules for warfare, there are these rules against destroying fruit-bearing trees, right? Nut trees, fruit trees, bean trees, trees that make food, don't destroy them. Right? There is a rule against it, a law, a prosecutable law against doing these things. And to the new Christian intellectual Randian type person, he's going to hear, well, you're not allowed to cut down fruit trees on your own property. He's going to say, well, it's my property. You can't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
But actually, it's not your property. It's God's property, and he can tell you what to do with it, and he has. In Scripture, by Scripture and right reason, there are things that you should not be allowed to do with your property.
Yeah. It's inalienable rights thinking. Like, as much as I love, I'm a Thomas Jefferson fan. Like his ideas that he gets from Locke about inalienable rights. I remember it was a friend of the show, Samuel Johnson, who had pointed out to me, he's like, of course there are inalienable right. Like, you don't have an inalienable right to life. That's what the death penalty is. Us taking away that right.
Yeah. Every right is alienable.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have an inalienable right to liberty. That's what jail is. Yeah. Like, that's us alienating your right to being free is go to jail.
Do not collect 200.
Straight to jail. So
believe it or not, straight to jail.
Yeah. So anyways, where was I going with this? oh, you don't have inalienable rights to your property is where I was going with this, right? Like property rights are not, like I remember, in some ways, I still think this is true that all rights are property rights. If you think about it, like I have a right to, like, you do have a right to life. You don't have an inalienable right to life. You can forfeit that. Like if you murder someone, you have alienated yourself from the right to having a life.
Yeah.
And we got a verse for that as well. It's in the somewhere around the Noah chapter. But
by man shall his blood be shed.
Yeah. But your property, you're just a steward of it. You don't own it. You don't even own yourself. Like from a Christian worldview, I understand from a Randian capitalist worldview, like I am my own autonomous being, and I'm so above it all. But in a Christian worldview, you do not have a right to yourself. I had just explained how like God has to continuously keep you going. Like you don't have life of yourself. God has to give every time. That's what's crazy. I remember someone pointing this out. Every time you curse God, you are receiving breath from God so that you can throw that back at him. You can't even curse God without God sustaining that breath, right? You're standing on God's lap and slapping him in the face, like a child that you can just done with you. Like I did that a couple times a day where it was like, no, enough of that. Kids, I don't know about your kids, but man, dude, my kids will just get like rowdy. Like they want to wrestle. That's the thing. What it is. They want to roughhouse. And sometimes it's like, you know what? You got a little too, I'm throwing you on the bed and walking away. Anyways. That's
sometimes you hit your limit before they hit theirs.
Yeah. So you don't have a right to yourself, your own property, all that stuff. You have some
but also
people.
The point that you made about every right is a property rights. Modern people don't like this. They really, really get upset when you point this out. But when the Bible talks about spousal rights, it uses the language of property rights.
Yeah.
When it talks about slavery and master's rights, it straight up says, for he is your property.
Yeah.
Okay, he belongs to you. He is your property. So some people say, well, human beings can't be owned. Bible says that human beings are property. And it also says that wives and children are property.
Yeah.
All right. And I know a lot of people are going to be really mad when they hear you say this, but the Bible says it. Okay. If you are a Christian, if you believe the Bible says that wives and children are property. And they are treated as property. But the thing is, it goes back to what we were saying earlier. Just because it's your property doesn't mean you can do anything you want to it. There are limits to what you may do with your property. And then in the New Testament also, it says that a husband is the wife's property. There are certain things he's not allowed to do because he belongs to her. Right? Now, in a weird way, right? If you were to say, just water cooler talk with your coworkers or at church, after the service, and you're like, well, I belong to my wife. Nobody's going to bat an eye, right? They're like, oh yeah, of course you belong to your wife, And if you even said, well, I am my wife's property, they might think it's a little quaint, the verbiage you're using. Well, why'd you say it like that? Okay. But I get it, Yeah, he's so dedicated, such a noble little guy, right? But if you said to those same people, yeah, my wife is my property, they'd be like, you can't say that, right? Yeah, that's wrong, man.
We share her.
Your property is a person, right?
I thought this was a timeshare situation.
Yeah. I mean, the way divorce laws are written, that's what it is a timeshare. While it's in your hands, you have to pay for it, and as soon as it's in somebody else's hands, you still have to pay off the debt, right? It's like, but all rights are property rights, but none of your property rights are first of all, inalienable, and none of them are absolute. If you murder your child, the Bible is quite clear that is murder, and murderers should be put to death. If you murder your spouse, you should be put to death. And if you burn down your own house, there will be consequences for that. You will at least get a ticket for being irresponsible and putting your neighbors in danger, right?
Naughty.
Yeah, I mean, you'll probably go to jail for insurance fraud or something like that, right? Although that does remind me of a funny story. So there was a neighborhood up against a farm, and one day there was a guy looking over his back fence, and there was a farmer carrying a shed, and he comes at he's in the shed for a while, and then he comes out and he walks around the shed and he splashes gasoline all around the building, and then he lights the building on fire. So the guy calls the fire department, he calls the police, he calls the National Guard, he calls the president of the United States, he calls everybody who will listen. He's like, this guy set his barn on fire. The fire department comes, police come, they arrest the farmer. They at least, put him in the car anyway. I don't know if they ever leave the scene, but they apprehend him. And they start to question him. By the time the fire department gets there, they fight it for a little bit, and then they're like, you know what? It's too far gone. It's an old wooden building. It's one of these old ancient farm sheds like you see, and it's like, and the neighbor comes out. He's like, yeah, man, I watched him. He took all of his equipment out of the shed, right? And he parked it over there, and then he burned the shed down. And they're like, okay, we're going to charge him with insurance fraud. We're going to throw the book at this guy. They talk to the farmer. He's like, no, I don't have insurance. I built a new shed over there, and I moved all my stuff into it, and I'm burning down the old one because it's easier than tearing it down. And then they're like, okay, well, there's no burn ban on, but did you tell anybody you're going to do this? He's like, it's my shed. I don't have to tell you, right? It's like it's in a field in the middle of my farm. There's a neighborhood kind of a ways away, they can see it, but it's not in imminent danger of burning them down. There's a field in between them that's plowed over, right? So after questioning them, they're like, actually, no, he didn't commit a crime. He just burned down an old building that was a danger. He said, look, it's about to fall over. It's not safe to be inside. That's why I built a new one. But he was doing the responsible thing. It looked to an outsider like he was being irresponsible or even fraudulent or evil. But in actuality, he was maintaining his property in the way that was right. He was doing what is right before God, which is taking care of things. If there's a building that's dangerous, you need to tear it down.
Yeah.
And sometimes fire, terrible servant, a fearful master, but it's a very handy tool for doing such a thing.
Yeah.
But your property rights are not unlimited, right? Otherwise the police would never have showed up. If there was never a worry or a fear that something untoward was going on, this never would have happened. So, I mean, when we talk about, property, land, cars, houses, people are very, very understanding of that. When you apply those same principles to spouses and children, people get very anxious. But then there's a kind of a middle ground where some people get it and some people don't. And that's animals, right? Livestock and pets. I mean, some people have a very bizarre feeling towards animals, right? Your pets. Oh, they're my babies. I'm a fur mommy. I'm a dog daddy. No, you're not. That's gay. Stop saying that. You are a human being. You are a man. Pull your pants up. You're a man. This animal is not your child. It is your ward. You are its master. you are responsible for its well-being. It is your duty to care for that creature. And Proverbs 12:10, let me jump over to it real quick. Proverbs 12:10 says, a righteous man regards the life of his animal, but the tender mercies of the wicked are cruel. Right? A good man cares about his animals. He cares well for them.
Yep.
And an evil man, even the nice things he does are mean. Right? I mean, you see these sometimes. People will have pets that they'll put in these ridiculous costumes. And you're thinking the whole time, like, is that really nice to your dog to do that? Or you see an obese animal who can't hardly walk because it's so fat, and you know that the owner is letting that animal do it. That is an enabling behavior, right? That's like giving crack to a drug addict, right? You are giving them a thing that is ruining them. You are the ward of that animal, or you are responsible for that animal. It is your ward. You are its master, and you are not fulfilling the duty of a warden when you enable it to destroy itself. Same with your children. If you are allowing bad behaviors in your children, if you are allowing them to get away with talking back to you, with living in squalor, with not washing themselves, well, when I tell him to wash himself, he gets upset, so I don't want to make him upset. No, you are abdicating your responsibility as the master, as the owner, as the warden of that child animal property. You have responsibilities that you need to fulfill. And when you fulfill them, there are beautiful rewards, right? There are wonderful things that you can benefit by doing so. But you are ultimately responsible to fulfill that role.
Can we hit comments? Because I have one last thing to say on this, and then we can get into the second topic.
Yeah, let's. I've got a few fun videos to watch, and then we can get into the second comment or the second topic, which is Patagonia. But let's hit some comments real fast. We've got the Christian Imperialist says, better than Robinette.
In comparison to the middle name John.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a guy,
the middle name Robinette? Who am I thinking?
Joe Robinette Biden.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I know. Well, it is weird.
Yeah, that's got to be a female name, right?
I mean,
because Robinism.
It's one thing. It's one thing if your name is like Leslie or Bailey, right? These are men's names that have become female names.
Yeah.
But if your name is like Robinette or Rosie, William Rosie Donaldson, right? That would be a really bizarre name, right? Why is your middle name Rosie? But but there's one tradition that I've heard of. I believe it was in the South as well, where it was not uncommon for a firstborn child to have his mother's maiden name as his middle name.
Oh.
I don't know if it's one of those situations, which, Robinette could be a last name just fine. If your name is Bill Robinette, nobody's really going to throw a fit about that, right? So maybe you've got something going on there. But weird naming conventions do exist. Eric Skeens 5306 says, good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, Eric. Good to see you. Thanks for coming along. Nate Downey, hey, made it back. Good to see you, man. Hey! Check for Tunnels says, every year of my life I have watched fire chiefs on TV saying, the reason these fires are bad is because they don't allow controlled burns.
Yep. That's right.
Yep. Every year of my life too. I mean, when I was a kid, a young child, I lived in Europe. My dad was in the army, and they would have awful, awful fires in Europe, which is wet, right? Like the ground is always muddy. You always leave a footprint. It's like if you've ever read Sherlock Holmes or Agatha Christie's, right? and they're always checking for footprints. And it's like, if you're a kid in Texas and you're like, checking for footprints, what are you checking for? There's not going to be footprints. yeah, it's like the hard packed sod in my front yard does not leave footprints even on a wet day. Well, in Europe it does, right? There are footprints all the time because it's always moist, with a few rare exceptions. There are a few places where it's a little drier, but it's nothing like this. It's nothing like Texas. But even in Europe, they would have these awful wildfires, and the reason is because the forests there are not maintained. They're left wild, and the undergrowth dries out, becomes brushy, and all it takes is a spark, man. And even in a moist climate, if you have that underbrush that is not maintained, it will burn. So yeah, it is your duty to maintain even the wildlands. Human, your job is to maintain the wildlands. The Christian imperialist says, the left thinks human interaction on nature is sinful. God intends us to steward creation, fallen or otherwise. The whinging from the left is just them being on brand for their contempt of God. Yeah, I mean, the description of this video, I mentioned the fact that, Greenpeace and people like them, they say they love creation while hating the creator. But you can't love creation and hate its creator. It doesn't work that way, right? You're going to hate creation, and it's going to come out. Your tender mercies will be cruel because you hate the God who made it. Nate Downey says, had a eucalyptus in front of my house growing up.
Cool, man.
So when did your house burn down?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're beautiful trees. I do love them, but you do have to be aware that is part of their life cycle. Christian imperialist import thousands of sexually deviant koalas to eat the eucalyptus. Koalas are STD factories, if you are unaware.
Yeah, that's what I hear. I hear they have syphilis.
Yeah, but from what I understand, they don't die from it. Like they carry it and they don't die from it. But I've also heard conflicting people. Some people will say you can get it from them. Some people will say you can't. If you can, you probably have to be being deviant with them. I don't think if it scratches you that you're going to get it. I think it has to be more involved. Christian imperialist says, 14 words. We must secure the existence of our mustard and a future for our pure sprouts.
Golly.
I'm a fan. I like it. Nate Downey says, inheritance tax makes it hard to pass on property. Boomer, though. Yeah. Inheritance tax does make it difficult. In Texas, our inheritance taxes are not as bad as they could be. There are some very weird rules about it. My wife's grandmother died a few years ago, and they just last year, well, I guess the year before last, finally got the whole thing ironed out. It was really bizarre because they didn't have a ton of land, but the land that they did have had to be kind of split up, and then it was sold and then purchased, and then the money that was gleaned from the purchase had to be put into property. Otherwise, it would be taxed, because if you sell that land and you just keep the money, then it gets taxed at a higher rate than if you invest it into other land. It's very convoluted. But even as convoluted as it is in Texas, it's not as bad as some other places. But inheritance tax is evil. All right.
It is. My question is, did all of these inheritance taxes just come into being during the time that boomers were inheriting land? Because it is a very recent phenomenon. Everyone notices it.
I remember when these things were instituted. I don't know if they didn't exist before, but I know that there were some inheritance taxes put into place around the year 2005 or so in the United States. There were huge protests against it, and they called it the death tax, right?
Yeah.
And, huge huge protests of people saying, look, this is immoral, this is wrong. And correct, the Bible is very clear on inheritance. It does not belong to the government. It does not belong to the king. It belongs to God, and the people who hold it in liege to him are families, not government. So, yeah, but I don't think the boomers had to pay inheritance tax when they received it. It's just their kids who are going to receive it. They have to pay the tax. Kind of rough the way that things always seem to cut one direction there. Christian Imperialist says, Jeff throwing shade at Brunton and Leibold. I'm here for it. Yeah, man, we go way back.
Yeah.
That's how Sean and I met, was the whole Cody Leibold.
That's right.
Nonsense. And if it weren't for such dorks as they, we would never have met. And I don't know if you have any commentary you want to throw on top of that.
I've talked about it before that, Jacob Brunton was a good friend of mine at one point. We went to the same church. And he just kind of went in another direction on a lot of the stuff. I had called him out at one point when I was like, hey, your little boyfriend needs to back off coming after all of my friends, man. And we had a falling out over that. And I was like, well, you choose to associate with this guy. I mean, I can't do anything. It would be as if Jeff was going out there and just like trying to get people fired from their jobs, and it was someone who say Jacob or whatever was like very close with, and he came to me and was just like, dude, your podcast co-host is trying to get my friends fired, my family fired, whatever. I'd be like, oh, Jeff, we need to have a little
we need to have a heart talk. We need to have a discussion about this behavior.
Yeah. But that's the kind of man that Cody Leibold is, and anyone who would associate with him is, we'll just say, a dork for the censors. But I saw a Cody Leibold media thing popped up on social media today. I wasn't even looking for it. It just like popped up. I was looking for something else, and I was just like, what is this? And he was just like getting torqued because he said something against that movie Sinners, and like all of Black Facebook like just descended upon him. This is a great movie. Of course, it's white people say that. And I'm just like, the Schadenfreude that came out of that for me, it was just like,
you made your bed, now lie in it.
Yeah. Enjoy. Yeah. Enjoy your new friend.
Yeah. And for people who hear, trying to get people fired and doxing people, a lot of people say, well, we've never tried to get anybody fired. They're lying. Okay. The Eli McGowans, the Cody Leibolds of the world, they have contacted employers and tried to get people fired.
We have recordings of some of this.
We have recordings. Yeah. They'll say, I've never done that. But it's like, we have the voice messages of you leaving voicemails on machines. Yeah. So, we go way back.
In fact, actually, last thing on that. Cody Leibold had what brought a lot of us together, and we're not understating this. This is how like me and Jeff and a whole bunch of other guys became
the Holden brothers
we are today. A lot of guys, is because he messaged a bunch of us and said, do I need to contact your employer? Right? What does that mean, dude? Other than I'm going to try to call and then be like, ooh, this guy said a thing on the internet. You should fire him. He should lose everything he has. Like what? Anyways, so we're not making this up.
Yeah.
We pick on Leibold in particular because that was his threat. Is a lot of us just like laugh reacted or liked a thing or whatever the situation was. And he showed I remember there's a screenshot of names it was like people's names who had liked a thing, and
Mm-hmm.
he had showed a post, like he had written a post, but he hadn't posted it. Like, do I need to contact your employer, or he's saying like, do I need to post this or something like that? It was like a whole threat, like a threat to a whole group of us. That
what it was is it was a meme that Jesse, those of you who know, but I won't throw his full name out there. But Jesse posted a meme from a group in Europe called Europa Invicta.
Yep.
And Leibold came out and he was like, "These guys are Nazis and you're liking their meme." And it was just a meme that said something like, "Europe is beautiful." Something super benign like that. It was not controversial. And it had a picture of a castle and maybe a pretty girl, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then because it's Facebook and you can see who liked it, right? He screenshots all of the people who laugh, heart reacted it. And he's like, these people are the Nazis who need to be fired. I'm going to contact your employers. You're going to get fired for this, right? And he messaged several people, including myself and yourself. And he was like, we're going to, and I think he publicly posted that screenshot on Facebook as well. So it wasn't just a private accusation, but it was a public one as well. And he's a bad actor. And mostly because he's on the wrong side of things. I mean, he is evil, but also predominantly, I would say, just because he's a bit of a nerd, because he's a dork and doesn't understand social cohesion, doesn't understand overstepping your bounds.
Yeah.
And
his wife is a breadwinner and a whole bunch of
other. Yeah, I mean, he has time to run this organization that he's trying to create because his wife supports him as opposed to the other way around. Amazing how often you'll see that. Anyhow, Christian imperialist again says, wife is property. They should have called it the rule of wrist.
That's a bat, dude. I mean, do you know what he's referring to?
I have no idea what this is talking
about.
Oh,
man. So you know what the rule of thumb means?
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
The rule of thumb, you can't beat your wife with a rod thicker than your thumb.
Okay.
Right? That's the rule of thumb. If it's the rule of wrist, and
it's
you're not Cody Leibold, and you have like
you actually have a wrist.
That's a baseball bat, dude. You can't do that. You can't hit your wife with a baseball bat.
Do not endorse. I do not endorse beating your wife with a baseball bat.
Not part of the rule of wrist. No.
All righty. Okay. Well, let's see. Did you have one more thing to say on the whole stewardship thing?
I'll make this quick. I had mentioned the idea of Christian environmentalism on Twitter back when I did that nonsense. And I say nonsense. It's so tiresome, but there's good things that come out of it. I had said something about environmentalism. Exactly.
Gotta play the clip.
A well-meaning person who I very much care about, one of our guys, was like, I'm not an environmentalist. I'm a conservationist, right? Not an environmentalist. And I had a whole back and forth about that because what's going on is that environmentalism is a big umbrella idea of just caring about the environment in some capacity. Conservationism is I'll start with preservationism. That's what he was confusing it with. Preservationism is the John Muir idea where there should be land that is not used for anything other than the beauty thereof.
Yeah, that's commons.
Right. Yeah.
There should be places that are common to all mankind.
Yes.
Well, if not all mankind, at least all of the people who live in this locale should have access to the commons.
For instance, Muir Woods. If you've never been there, incredible place, dude. I was married in the Bay Area. And the day after, my wife and I went to Muir Woods with her family. And Muir Woods is incredible, dude. Sequoias and redwoods that are just bigger than any tree has any business being. Like, they're just
physically
ridiculously large.
impossible.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It's just gorgeous, and it's amazing to think that in such a den of iniquity as the San Francisco Bay Area, that in Marin County, just on the other side of the Golden Gate Bridge from the gayest place on earth, well, second gayest place. We all know Tel Aviv is the gayest place on earth, but we'll get to that later. You have this just beautiful, as God created it, land.
Mm-hmm.
That is preservationism, right? That's a national park. It's a
wilderness preserve.
Yes, we will not fill this with Indians, is essentially what that is saying.
Yeah, well, we're doing it anyway, but that's the idea.
Well, they have to get a ticket now. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Have you seen people posting pictures of them visiting the Grand Canyon? And it's just like sea of Indians.
What?
Right? Just like crowd of Indians at the Grand Canyon. You can't even see the canyon because there's just hundreds of people in the lookout area.
That's another gnarly one. Actually, that's where I got this beanie, was at the Grand Canyon. I went there on like New Year's Day, I think it was, and it was
cold,
colder than a specific part of a well digger, and it was. But I did not anticipate it.
Yeah,
in January, yes,
colder than a weller's butt in January.
Yeah, and I found this beanie on the ground, and I was like, I'm gonna risk it, dude, because I'm gonna die if I don't put this beanie on right now.
Yeah, if it's got lice, I can cut my hair off later, but right now I need.
I gotta go for it, and I've since washed it, and but that's where I got this from, was at the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
But anyways, like, that's another one that's just, you see it, it's God's creation. There's no condos on it or anything like that. It's just incredible to see, right? Words just don't do it, and pictures don't do it. If you've never seen it, I remember driving up to the Grand Canyon.
I went to the Grand Canyon twice, and the first time I went, it was foggy, and you couldn't see very far. I mean, you could see far enough to see there wasn't anything there. And then the second time I went, it was a clear sky and mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Massive. Truly massive.
We had good, it was like the sun was setting, and we had fairly decent like cloud coverage. So you had like kind of the big sky with it at the time. Does that make sense? Like the sun as it was setting was lighting up clouds as it was lighting up everything underneath. And I remember driving there before we even like parked and looked over it. There was like a cliff, and I was like, what in the world? Like it's shocking when you see some of these things, and you're just like, that's the thing? Like, that's incredible. Like, I can't believe this exists. And so that's the
part that I thought was weird, and I guess it depends on how you approach it, is we drove, because we're coming from Arizona. We drove forever, and it's just flat, right? The Grand Canyon, okay, it's a canyon. It's not a mountain. And when you get there, you're on top of it. Like, the whole time we're driving there, we drive for like 3 hours, and it's just everywhere you look, for as far as you can see, is just flat. Flat that way, flat that way. And it doesn't feel like you're on top of anything. You're on the ground, right? This is the ground. And then all of a sudden you get to the edge of the canyon. It's like, oh no, there's a hole in the ground. It's not like you're looking up at a mountain. It's like, no, you were on a mountain this whole time. You just didn't know it because you're on a mesa that is the size of the western part of Arizona. And then you get to the edge of it. It's like, whoa, there's a hole here big enough to put, the entire eastern seaboard, the entirety of New England could just fall in that hole. It's massive, right?
There is a pretty cool forest that is on a mountain in Arizona somewhere, and I can't Flagstaff. I think it's Flagstaff. When I was driving on the way there, and if that's the place I'm thinking of, that place is really cool. It's literally like a lush forest in Arizona on top of a mountain. It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Not all of Arizona is Phoenix.
No. So that's preservationism, right? This land should exist as God created it, right? Like there's that scene in Evan Almighty, the sequel to Bruce Almighty, where he's looking at this valley and he's like, wow, this is beautiful. What is this? And he said, this is the valley that you live in as I created it. He's talking to God in this scene. And so it's, God telling him like, the sun at this time of day goes through this part and it lights this up. And, this feature over here exists so the water can do this. And he's going through it like, that's how I created it before you wanted to like put houses in it. Ironically enough, that's what we're talking about earlier. Yeah. And he didn't even recognize it, right? Like that's what preservationism is. I want to preserve this as God created it.
And preservation takes work. That's a point that needs to be made too. Is it's like preservation different than conservation because preservation takes maintenance.
Well, conservation is the flip side of that. Still a type of environmentalism, but what you're essentially saying is, I am going to utilize this resource in a way that is sustainable. So logging is the classic example of conservationism. I'm going to log this acre today, and then I'm going to make money off of the wood of these trees, and then I'm going to plant new trees, and then next year I'll get this other acre, log that, and then eventually by the time I circle back, it'll be 30 years or whatever, and the trees are grown again.
Have new trees.
Yeah, that would be conservationism.
Right.
Now, I believe in, a mix of both. I love the idea of national parks. I think there are some places that just need to be left alone, more or less. Where I grew up,
you don't think that the Grand Canyon should be full of low-income housing, full of foreigners?
I think we should throw some things in it, maybe. But
from the top all the way to the bottom. Catapults.
Yeah. But there's some places where it's just like conservationism just won't cut it. And so I understand there's a mix of both. I think ideally preservationism is the way to go. But there's a place near where I grew up. It's called Knight's Ferry. And it was traditionally a place where you can go gold panning. And eventually it became, now Knight's Ferry was a place where a guy with the last name Knight would take people from one side of the river to the other side of the river. Eventually a bridge was made and he didn't really need to exist anymore. And so it didn't exist, but still Knight's Ferry is the name of the town. And it's in the foothills in the Central Valley. And it's just gold country. Yeah, that's where I grew up. And this is in California. And you could still go there. Like that's what me and my buddy would do. Like right after we graduated high school, and like we had cars and we had like the ability to go places without supervision, all that kind of stuff. We would just go out to Knight's Ferry with our gold panning stuff, and they let you do that to preserve the historic gold panning history. You could go there and pan gold. You can't use like a dredge and all that kind of crazy stuff. Like there are limits on what you could do, but you can bring your is it still sluice? Not a sluice. I'm trying to think of
I think a sluice is that
the belt.
Yeah, that goes through. Or like a long thing that the water runs through.
Yeah, I'm thinking of I don't know. The things you sit there and you shake it, and it's like big rocks and then smaller rocks, and it gets small until you eventually you're anyways, you could use that kind of stuff. You use a pan, obviously. We would go out there and we would pan for gold. We would actually get gold out of the river. That is kind of a conservation type situation, because you're saying like, hey, you can go out and use this. You can be part of this history and know what it's like to do it at the spot where historically people did it. But we're not just saying don't touch it, right? Like that's what you're saying when you go to Muir Woods. You know, they're not saying like, oh, you can go carve things in the tree or whatever. They're like, do not touch this tree. If you scratch this tree, we will scratch you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do not go near this tree. Just look at it.
Right.
So that's kind of the difference between the two. I think that conservationism is good in some cases. I think preservationism is good in other cases. I think there's a mix of both. These two are not necessarily at odds with each other, but they are the two schools.
Different places they can be utilized properly. Yeah,
they came through environmentalism.
You have places like in Germany where it is illegal to cut down any kind of tree. Right, not what we were talking about when we read Deuteronomy. It's like, do not cut down the fruit-bearing trees. You can have a tree that is dead, that is threatening to fall on top of your house, and if you do not get the authorities to sign off on it, you cannot have it removed. And if you try to remove it yourself, you will get in trouble, like jail time trouble. You might if you kill a man in Germany, you will go to jail for less time than if you cut down a tree in your backyard. It is
depending on the color of your skin.
Yeah, probably. For instance, this last year, historic tree. I don't remember what the tree was called, but it was in the middle of Hadrian's Wall. 1,000-year-old tree, ancient tree, was cut down, professionally cut down. And it was a huge act of vandalism. It was an international
Hadrian's Wall goes
disgrace.
Into Germany? Am I thinking?
No, it was in England.
Oh, okay. I thought you said Germany at first.
No. Well, if I did, then I misspoke. But it's the border wall between England and Scotland.
Yeah, okay.
Which it's not, I don't think, the border today, but the border at the time of Hadrian.
Yeah.
You know, well, I mean, not to today's borders, right? But
beyond the wall was beyond the pale. Yeah,
exactly. It was cis wall, cis walling Roman England. This was our land, and that's them, and the wall is to make a distinct separation between us and them. Well, there was a tree just in the middle of that wall that was thousands of years old, tourist attraction. If you're going to go visit Hadrian's Wall, where would you go? Would you go to the tree, right? Because it's this huge tree out in the middle of nowhere. And some vandals went and cut it down. And, things like that, okay, I could understand you hanging a man for that. Because you are not merely cutting down a tree. You are assaulting the history of an entire people, right? But, the rules in Germany when I was living there were such that it was just like, you could not do anything to a tree. And at that same time, my dad's cousin, who I call my uncle, but he's actually my dad's cousin, had a tree in his yard that was in the way, right? It was on a property line, and it was very inconvenient, and it was actually obstructing things. And it was not a beautiful tree. It was not a fruit tree. It was ugly, it was sickly, and it was just a problem. And he couldn't do anything about it. He had been going back and forth with the authorities in his community there in Berlin about taking care of this tree, and they would not let him touch it. And so his mother, my dad's aunt, said, I'm going to drive a nail into that thing in the middle of winter and just kill it so that, they let you get rid of it. And he was like, don't do that, right? Germans, rule followers. He's like, don't do that. That's wrong. That's not according to the book. You can't do that. See, it says right here, don't do that. You'll get in trouble. I'll get in trouble. No good can come of this. But, everybody was sick of this ugly, spindly tree. And it was not a big tree either. It was just an eyesore. And, while this is going on, there's a tree in front of my house that I would climb, that I enjoyed climbing, and my neighbors cut it down. and faced no consequences because they were Iraqi refugees. I mean, I don't know for sure that that's why, but here is my uncle getting in trouble or trying to stay out of trouble in getting rid of an ugly tree. And they take it upon themselves to take down a tree that I climbed that was in front of both of our houses, right? It's not on his property. It's across the street. And I would climb this thing. And one day I go outside and they've cut it down. And I go outside and not only did they cut it down, but they're like chopping up the root and dumping diesel on it to make sure it doesn't come back. Like,
where was this at?
This was in Germany. This was in Babenhausen,
okay.
where I lived. And so, my dad was raised an eyebrow at it, but he didn't really care either. My dad didn't, because it was not his tree, not on our property. And it was also kind of in the way. It was too close to the road, which was making it inconvenient for cars to drive by. But the thing is, they didn't have permission to do it. They just did it. And my dad was probably okay with it because it was in his way too. And he's like, well, if they do it, they won't get in trouble. But if I do it, I will get in trouble because I'm an American, and they can make the army pay for it and I'll get in trouble. You can't make Iraqi refugees pay for it. They don't have any money, supposedly. So it was this bizarre double standard. Getting back to that thing that you said, it's like, except, depending on what color your skin is, but yeah, actually, in some cases, that's definitely how it went. But anyway, when it comes to preservation versus conservation versus just absolute green nonsense, there is a place and time for everything except for absolute green nonsense, which is just anti-human behavior. You may not do this because you are a human being and we hate people. All right. So with that said, let's roll into the second part of our show. But I'm going to start off by showing some cute videos. We showed this video last week.
Oh, yeah.
Of the beaver making a little dam of plush dolls. I love this video. So I'm playing it again because beavers are so cute, right? Bober curva. I love it. So he's got a Christmas tree, got a what is this? A SpongeBob plushie. And look at how delicately, like he putting his little hands on it. He's a little worker man. He's getting his job done. But here's another little video that I saw this week. Yesterday, I guess I saw this, or maybe it was. I don't know if I saw it yesterday. No, I must have, because posted this yesterday.
What is he doing here? That was the part I was trying
to. I think he's just scratching himself. He got a little yawn, rub his face. Oh, he's so cute. Look at that little guy. And this is, I think this is amazing right here. Frogs and toads, they may be fat and all that, but they little butt. Look at him squeezing into that little hole. Just squeezing in there. Gotta find his little happy place. Yeah, just adorable. And big yawn. Love it. But as a Christian, we see this and we think of God's creation and we are filled with immense gratitude. God made these animals beautiful and he made them cute and adorable and lovely. Sin has corrupted that, but at the same time, there's still that beauty underneath that we can get to. So here is a post from Francisco Gonzalez. It says, can you believe this is my unedited video from Torres del Paine National Park in Chile's Patagonia from just 2 weeks ago today? God is good. Don't forget to take a look around once in a while. He created this for you and me too. And yes, this is, look at this thing. just amazing. So I have never been to the Southern Hemisphere. But one of these days, I want to go to Patagonia, and maybe I'll meet some old relatives of mine who fled there in times gone by. But I'd love to go to Patagonia and hike in these mountains. I love it. It's just gorgeous. God made this. God made this for us. And I just want to cringe warning. 3, 2, 1. Just want to say Patagonia, not to be confused with Patagonia, not to be confused with Patagonia. Patagonia, the clothing company, sues drag queen Patagonia, claiming irreparable harm.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this disgusting individual, this man dressing like a woman. Yeah, that's my reaction too, right there. Like, excuse me while I go wash my eyes out with bleach.
It's my fault for having eyes.
Yes.
Honestly, yeah.
But Patagonia is kind of a leftist, hikers company, but even they have standards. So I will not be boycotting Patagonia clothing. I don't own any, but if they're suing that guy, then maybe I should go buy a Patagonia shirt. But Patagonia is burning. Heat, drought, and high winds exacerbated deadly blazes in Chile this weekend and stoked fires that continue to smolder in Argentina. And it's not just the mountainside, it's also the villages. I mean, they are just being ravaged by fires right now. No, I do not want to, I don't need to read this. But Patagonia is on fire, and it's awful. Just being completely destroyed. And I wish these people wouldn't do this to us. But no, I won't be reading your article. Thank you very much. Instead, let's just pop over and see what could be causing these fires. Here's a guy, Megatron. I follow him on Twitter. He's an interesting character. He posts a lot of news and stuff. Some of the things he posts are copy pastas. And I think this is no different. But Israeli soldiers wanted for war crimes were arriving en masse in Argentina's Patagonia, report from 2025. As recently as a year ago, local Argentine news agencies reported that Israeli soldiers wanted for war crimes were arriving en masse in Argentina's Patagonia, where the mass fires are set. So these fires that have been raging Patagonia have not been accidental. They've been being set. Locals say these individuals are using hostels like Onda Azul and Lago Pueblo as staging grounds, hiking in groups, carrying radio gear, satellite phones, and surveillance tools deep into remote territory. The reporter points out that Israeli hikers stay at hostels located awfully close to these wildfire hotspots. And see, they're posting even on their own Instagram accounts, like people who are wanted criminals for war crimes in the Middle East going to South America, and just for some weird reason, the places where they go seem to be catching fire. And the authorities have found hand grenades, fire hand grenades. This grenade was found, and it is an M26 IM manufactured in Israel. This is a firebomb. It is used by the IDF, and 2 Israelis were caught setting up fires, trying to create fires with these hand grenades. They've been arrested.
It's definitely not an American grenade.
Not an American one, yeah.
Since World War I or II, they make hand grenades based off of baseballs. Because they said, well, every American can throw a baseball. That was literally their logic. So that's how you know it's an American grenade.
Yeah, but you don't hold it like a baseball, so it's still a little weird. But
hand sign.
Yeah, but no, they've found these things with Israeli writing on them. Okay, these are these are not Argentinian grenades either, right? So Israeli soldiers wanted for war crimes in the locale where these fires are being set, these hand grenades being found in the fires, and then people being arrested with these hand grenades on their person. Where did this come from? Well, the president of Argentina, Milei, who is a libertarian and does a lot of good things, he also does some bad things. One of the bad things he did recently is he instituted a law that allows for fire-damaged properties that would not be allowed to be sold because they are preservations, because they are conservations. They're not allowed to be sold to corporations. If they're destroyed by a wildfire, then they are reclassified and they are now allowed to be purchased by anybody, including foreign corporations and foreign nationals. Well, all of a sudden, now that they're allowed to be seized because of fire, they're having a bunch of fires. How convenient. Yeah. And one of the companies that's doing a lot of these purchases is an Israeli corporation who have mining interests in the area. Now, for you and me, this may seem strange, but for a lot of foreigners who hear this, it will come as no surprise. The companies are not owned by individuals. It's owned by the Israeli government. Right? This is also very common in China. Right? If a Chinese corporation is doing business in your country, that is de facto the government of China doing business in your country. Okay, these are not private entrepreneurs. Okay, the number of private entrepreneurs in China is vanishingly small. And if they're doing things in your country, they're doing it because the government wants them to do it. So ever since these fires have broken out, there have been protests. Patagonia is not for sale. La Patagonia no se vende. Despierten argentinos. Right? We are not selling Patagonia. Right? It's not for sale.
What does that mean? Like the spirit of Argentina? Is that?
Maybe, probably something like that. I am not fluent in Spanish, and Argentine Spanish is even different from the Mexican slang with which I'm familiar. But
you should be extra familiar with this because Argentina shares a very special connection with a very special people. So
right. And,
in fact, some might say that they are the same people.
Well, and part of me, the conspiratorial part of me wonders if these fires don't also have an ulterior motive.
That was the first thing I thought of.
Vengeance for being a hiding place for people that have done some things, allegedly done some things to some people.
Yeah.
Which is hotly
soap
disputed.
Manufacturers and
lampshade manufacturers as well.
Yeah.
But here we've got mainstream American reporting on the situation. Israeli citizen detained for starting fires inside Patagonia's national park. And it's not an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory after all. Massive wildfires in Argentina are happening right after Israelis were allowed to buy rural land. And here we go. 4 Israeli tourists detained yesterday in Patagonia after Chile's Conaf Park rangers caught them lighting fires in dangerous zones of Torres del Paine National Park. Okay, this is not a conspiracy theory. These people are being arrested and charged. They have the fire grenades with them. Okay, they are firebombing the countryside. This is not Christian nationalism, right? This is what non-Christians do to the country. And I have another verse for you. Revelation 11:18. Revelation 11:18 is the angels who are speaking to God, right? They say, we give thanks to you, God Almighty, the one who is, was, is to come, because you have taken great power and reigned. Then in 18 it says, the nations were angry and your wrath has come, and the time of the dead that they should be judged, and that you should reward your servants, the prophets and the saints, and those who fear your name, small and great, and should destroy those who destroy the earth. Revelation 11 is talking about the destruction of Jerusalem. The people who are being killed, that the angels are glorifying God for killing, are the Jews. The angels are glorifying God for killing the Jews in Jerusalem at AD 70. And what do they call them? Those, and it says, you should destroy those who destroy the earth. Enemies of all mankind, one might say. Those who destroy the earth. So this is a 2,000-year-old pattern of behavior. All right, this is not an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. Let's see. This is allgemeiner.com, which is a news website. What Iran's internet blackout and the Patagonia fires revealed about global disinformation by Micah Danzig. And here's a picture of some of the fire and destruction. Cars burn in a street during a protest over the collapse of the currency's value in Tehran, Iran. Right, so Iran is having these fires now. This is a little dated. These protests have been pretty handily crushed, and the government really came down hard and heavy. They let these people, gave them a little bit of leash and let them run, and gave them enough rope to hang them. You see this with dictatorial regimes quite often, that they will sometimes allow a rebellion to get off the ground a little bit just so that they can figure out who is running it and then come in and bloody the knives. But let's see what he says. The lie that raced across social media during Argentina's recent Patagonia wildfires was not just grotesque, it was revealing. Within hours, recycled images and viral posts blamed Israelis for igniting the fires. The language was familiar, vague references to foreign states, insinuations of coordination, and the ritual refrain of the media was covering it up. Who owns the media? Argentine journalists documented how quickly the fires became a vehicle for anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, including false claims involving an IDF grenade in Patagonia. The author of this piece, Micah Danzig. Who is this Micah Danzig guy? Oh, here we go. Micah Danzig served in the Israeli army and is a former police officer with the New York Police Department. He is currently an attorney and very active with numerous Jewish and pro-Israel organizations.
Goodness. I've written characters less obvious than this.
Yeah, it's like this is not surprising, right? He's coming to bat for his people, and he's not afraid to lie about it either. Here's an interesting post from the Jewish Chronicle. Israeli backpacker escapes jail over Chile forest fire. 2012. 2012. And this is not new. Reminder that Israeli tourists have been setting fire to Patagonia for over a decade. All right. So for some reason, Israel has been wanting to develop mining operations in Patagonia for a very long time. And the South Americans who live in these mountains don't want it to turn into strip mining. They want it to be for hiking and preservation. Right? They want to be able to go out on these beautiful trails and not to look like a Canadian strip mine. But foreign influencers have been working for decades at this point to try to seize that land and industrialize it. And this is not new. Here's another one. Remember when that Israeli tourist was caught and arrested in 2011 for setting fires in Patagonia that burned over 28,000 acres of pristine forest? And in 2014, when Chile again had to throw out more Israeli tourists for lighting fires in national parks. This news report now says an M26 IM hand grenade made in Israel may have started the current raging fires. I can't stop thinking about the nations of animals who call those forests home. Millions of individual lives, families, and babies that will never be counted. So even in this guy or gal, Susan Abul Hawa, Arab, girl mom, dog mom, vegan, exile, indigenous daughter of Jerusalem. She's a leftist. And, she can't stop thinking about the animals who live in this forest. You know what? People live in these forests too.
Yeah.
All right. These people are murderers. All right. People have died, not just firefighters, but civilians and firefighters also. People have died because of these fires. Fires did it for profit and greed. Yeah, the people who started these fires did it for profit and greed, and also, I think, out of a spirit of vengeance. Okay. When we say that Christians care for the land, we are also saying that non-Christians do not. All right. The Antichrist hates Christ's creation. Right? John, speaking about Christ, speaking about creation, he says, without him was not anything made that was made. Right? Jesus Christ made everything. And the Jews hate Jesus Christ. As a matter of fact, I remember seeing a couple weeks ago a rabbi who was discussing, and he would not say the words Jesus Christ. He kept referring to him as JC. He wouldn't say it. The only time Jews like to say Jesus Christ is when they're saying it as a swear word.
Yeah.
Right? These people hate God. Jesus is God, and they hate Jesus. These people hate God. They are enemies of all mankind, and they are those who destroy the earth. Christians, we carry the creation mandate. We inherited it from Adam. We inherited it from Abraham, our father, whose children we are when we do the works that he did. We are the children of Abraham. We are the ones who maintain the land that God has given us. Wherever you are, if you're in Togo, the America number one ally, Togo, you love Togo as a Christian Togan. What do you call somebody from Togo? Is he a Togan? Is he a Togonese? I don't know. But as a Christian Togo, you love Togo. As a Christian Japanese, you love Japan. As a Christian Chinaman, you love China. And as a Christian Patagonian, you love Patagonia. And the people who hate Christ hate Togo. And they hate Japan. They hate China. And they hate Patagonia. Because they hate the person who made it. Because all of creation points to the Creator. It points to the Creator and the fact that he did this for us. God did this for us. Look at this.
You got to bring it up again if you're going to.
God made this for us to enjoy. Unedited raw footage. Look at this. This is what these people wish to destroy. I was a missionary, kind of part-time for a while, when I was a young man, to India. And one of the things that I saw when I was there is just how beautiful the landscape was, where there weren't people. And where there were people, there was trash everywhere. Because people who worship demons don't care for the land. They don't care for their animals. Their tender mercies are cruel. And this is true of pretty much every non-Christian nation. They do not care for the things that God has given them. They don't care for creation, because they don't see what every Christian sees when we open the scriptures, that we are stewards. We are given this land as our inheritance in ward to future generations. We carry the burden to pass on the glories and the beauty that God has given us to those who come after us. And those who came before us did the same for us. That is Christian nationalism. That is what it's all about. We are doing this for future generations. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that really says it all, is that, future generations don't get to enjoy things that our generation doesn't preserve for them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really it. A single link in the chain destroys the entire thing. I mean, it just doesn't exist anymore. If our generation, dropped a nuke on the Great Pyramid of Giza. Sorry, there's no Great Pyramid in Gaza.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. There's not. Or the Great Sphinx or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
If we just completely destroyed that, no one would ever be able to see that again. You can go to Vegas and see like a fake one or a Bass Pro Shop that is built to be a huge pyramid. Like, I get that, but you'll never have those things again. And if you just strip mine all these majestic mountains, you can't recreate that. Like, it exists as it exists, and if you tear it down, it doesn't exist anymore. There's a quote by Roger Scruton that I guess I'll paraphrase. I can't find the exact quote, but it says that conservatism is the idea that great things are difficult to build and easy to destroy. I want to say that that's essentially what he said. And where he was going with that, if you look at the larger context, what he was saying is that, it'll take time. It'll take generations to build something great. As far as natural beauty, I mean, that's just something we inherit. But to preserve those things, it takes every single generation has to re-preserve the existence of that thing that is handed down. When you're talking about like a natural beauty, like you can't restore it. There was an example of that is where my wife's from in New Hampshire. The Old Man in the Mountain. They had put, for those who don't know, it looked strikingly. It was a mountain, a natural mountain face that looked strikingly like a man's face. And even after it fell, it's no longer there now. It was still on their state quarter. Like it's still on their license plates. It doesn't exist anymore. And I never got to see it in person. I've seen what's there now, but basically they had put in, they could tell like it was starting to kind of fall, and they had put in like cables and stuff to keep it up, keep it maintained. And they were doing something with it, and one knucklehead cut the wrong cable, and the whole thing came falling down. And now this thing that has defined the state, they have literally nothing else. They're just a bunch of bums with too much snow now. Like I'm joking, but it was like it was their state symbol. Like it defined where they were. Doesn't exist anymore because one knucklehead messed it up. Generations couldn't hold on to it. So yeah, it takes every generation to preserve things for future generations. That's why I get so upset at the idea of some boomer or someone from any generation selling off their family's land. Like that could have been something you handed down and handed down. I mean, how many people our age would have loved to receive something like that, preserve it, hand it down to the next generation? But for some reason, this one like commercially driven capitalist, I need to retire early and go on cruises, and you know, we all have the same size coffin, which isn't even true. Because some people have pyramids as their burial place, but you know, that whole idea of like, well, I might as well spend it. I can't take it to the grave with me. Well, yeah, but you can leave it for future generations. Like you could build something for those who will echo everything that you do as your inheritance. I mean, it's a shame that there's like that 1 or 2 generations that just decided, and all this isn't worth it. And I include like what we call the greatest generation, the World War II generation. They decided, well, this land, it doesn't belong to us. It belongs to the whole world, and everyone's an American. They just haven't gotten here yet. And so they codified that in Hart Cellar. And now we're in the situation we're at today, where you can't even go to the Grand Canyon and see something other than a million Indians on a rail. So yeah, do what you can to preserve what we have. That was a big part of the fight with this floodplain thing we were doing. That's why I took it so personally. And that's why as a community we came together and we did what we did, and thus far have been able to keep the fight going. So keep your fight going. Whatever it is that you're fighting for, just keep on fighting for it, because once it's gone, you can't get it back. I mean, I've seen the memes where it's like, like a white woman, and it's like, once I'm gone, you can't get me back. Well, that's really true for a lot of environmental things. Like you can't just like stack enough pebbles on top of each other to get that mountain back that you're showing right there. Mm-hmm. You can't just throw toxic sludge into that lake and then we'll just put it through a Brita filter and then it'll be the same lake again, right? I mean, you'll never get that back. So yeah, I guess that's my little monologue to end it with.
Yeah, the things that you hold in charge. You hold in, you can't get it back. Yeah. Let's see. For some reason, it seems like YouTube was restricting our comments for a while, so we don't have any new comments. But
we have one. I see.
Yeah, he texted me a little bit ago, and he's like, "Hey, why aren't the comments working?" And then I went in and verified that this stream was not made for children. And YouTube seems to be really pushing that YouTube Kids thing, which makes them now overprotective about everything. So you have to go in and make sure that they know that it's not intended for children, which is not the same thing as saying it should be restricted from children. It's just saying it's not a children's program. And once I fixed that, now he's able to comment. So, or it may have been that, he wasn't able to comment from his mobile device. Can't really say for sure, but something bizarre going on. But anyhow, so unless we have no new comments, I guess we'll close it out there.
Let's see. Oh, well, that one works. There we go.
From your yeah.
Commenting from my phone.
Earlier, you said, when I was a young man, that was funny. I am 31 years old. I am not a young man anymore. I am not an old man. I am just a man. And but yeah, I have lived in this area. You know, I was talking about this with a friend recently. This is the longest I have ever lived anywhere. I have lived in my current county where I am for 21 years. And before that, I lived the life of a Bedouin. You know, my dad was in the army, we were all around. Now, my dad went to high school just in the next town over, right? So this is where I'm from. This is where I'm from. This is where my dad's from. But he got in the army. He toured the world. I grew up in Germany. And, well, I say grew up. I moved here when I was 11. But, yeah, I've lived here for 21 years now. And it's good to be from somewhere. You know, those of you who have always lived in one place your entire life, sometimes you might think that you're, you want to get out and see the world. And it's good to get out and see the world. I applaud that. But there's something that you have that a lot of people don't have. Not the majority of people, but a lot of people don't have a place that they can call home. And I don't mean a roof over your head, but I mean a town. I mean a community. I mean a people. You know, if you're from somewhere and you love it, you have something that is a gift from God that you should be thankful for. And you should steward that relationship that you have with your community, and you should preserve that, because that is something God gave you that is a good gift that helps to make you who you are. And often we don't have the gratitude for the things that are common to our life. If it's a sad reality, but when something becomes commonplace, we're not typically very grateful for it. You don't typically know, you know, like the song goes, you don't know what you've got till it's gone. And living in this place for as long as I have has made me realize just how grateful I am to be from somewhere, not just constantly moving every 3 years like I was for the first half of my life, for the first half of my childhood, for the majority of my childhood. So be grateful for the people that you have around you. Be grateful for your people. Be grateful for your place. God made blood and soil, and he loves them both. And it's not wrong for you to love them. We hold these things as earthen vessels. Your life is short. It's shorter than you know it is. Whether that's because you die unexpectedly or live out a long life, it's still short. And there's an eternity on the other side of that. And dear listener, if you do not have faith in Jesus Christ, if you do not believe what the Bible says, I encourage you, I implore you, go to church. Now, a lot of you, like me, will have gotten an email or a text message from your elders, from your priests, from your pastor that says, church is canceled tomorrow.
Yeah.
But that is not an excuse for you to live a life of shirking your responsibility. That's been a theme throughout this show. The things God gives us have responsibility. The land God gives us comes with responsibility. The animals God gives us come with responsibility. The wife and children that God gives you, if he has done so, those come with huge responsibilities. Your life comes with a responsibility. And that responsibility is that you worship God. He demands it. Every knee will bow and every tongue will confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. Whether you do it now or whether you do it for all eternity in hell, in excruciating torment and pain, you will do it. but do it with love. Embrace God. He is calling you. Turn to God and step up to your responsibility. But with that said, folks, it's been a show. Sean is freezing his little butt off, and he needs to go inside before he dies of hypothermia, and I get blamed. I mean, if your wife, I will never live it down. She will always remind me that I'm the reason that you died. But so we need to get Sean taken care of. So, folks, go to bed, stay warm, and get some good sleep, and worship God tomorrow. Whether you're doing it in church because you are able to do so, or whether you are doing it from the comfort of your own home because weather has made that undoable, worship God in spirit and in truth. We love y'all, and we wish you all a very wonderful night. Farewell.